Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to Bassetlaw, and today I've come to a very big place to the north of Worksop. Behind me is the Grey Horses Inn, just one of the pubs you'll find here in Carlton in Lindrick. Today we're in Carlton in Lindrick, and we begin our main walk around this massive place in a playing field at the northernmost edge. Keep it in mind, it's also where we'll end. Carlton in Lindrick is a large village, the southernmost edge of which is about 3 miles north of Worksop in the district of Bassetlaw. The 2011 census recorded a parish population of 5,623, one of only 2 in the entire district to record a population of over 5,000, and it's second only to Harworth and Bircotes. It includes that of Wallingwells. Despite being the second biggest in the district, here's something that's always baffled me about it. So one thing that always amazes me about Carlton in Lindrick is that it's big enough to be a town, but the only 2 towns in Bassetlaw that aren't Worksop and Retford, of course, which are unparished, are Tuxford and Harworth and Bircotes. Carlton in Lindrick's certainly big enough to be one, though. As you'll have gathered by now if you're a regular, Carlton is a common English place name and derives from the Old English for Kingstown or Freemanstown. Lindrick, on the other hand, is something new. This denotes the land of the linden or lime tree. Indeed, the name is derived from the Old English for raised straight strip marked by lime trees. Lindrick was the name of an ancient district, most of which is now in South Yorkshire. Such places as North and South Anston and parts of Tickhill and Maltby, including Roche Abbey, were in Lindrick. Carlton is in fact made up of 4 small settlements, which over time have merged together with the onset of urbanisation. These are North Carlton, South Carlton, Costhorpe and Wigthorpe, although Wigthorpe remains semi-detached from the others. Carlton's more recent history is one that's dominated by industry, but before all the industrial activity in the area in the 1800s and 1900s, the land here was agricultural, some of it associated with Wallingwells Priory. So, I mentioned this before, big places like Carlton and Lindrick, it's very difficult to know where exactly to walk. It's difficult to plan a route because you never know whether you're going to miss anything with the route you plan. And as such, I don't think this main walk around is going to catch everything, but that's okay because that's what I've got a car for. I shall make sure the bits that I don't catch on the main walk get done in the car later. Now I'm talking to the camera at this point for a good reason. I'm just about to turn left down Windsor Road. I'm on Long Lane. If you carry on walking down Long Lane, you might be able to see in the distance there the entrance to the bridleway, which takes you to Wallingwells, which you'd have seen last week. It's a long way away though, so you probably can't see it. Anyway, we're not going down there today, we're going down Windsor Road. I didn't get very far down here before I noticed something interesting, which may have been something and nothing in all honesty. Over to you for this one, Carlton locals. So I'm just about to turn down a footpath to take me to my next sort of area. I just noticed there's a house being demolished there. I wonder what that's all about. I just had a quick check at the map just to make sure it wasn't some kind of business like old premises, old shop or something like that they're knocking down. But it just appears to be a house. That's interesting. Carlton in Lindrick was an ancient parish of Nottinghamshire, and it became a modern civil parish when those were established across the country. It was in the Hatfield division of the ancient Bassetlaw Wapentake, in the northern division of the county. So the main walk round I planned today here, 3.2 miles long, and almost a third of that, believe it or not, is Long Lane, because it's 3/4 of a mile from the junction with the main road to where Wallingwells is. Long way. It's called Long Lane for a reason. Carlton in Lindrick's claim to fame can be seen in Retford. It's a knight, a 12th century mounted bronze figurine 6 centimetres high, discovered in 2004, and it's now displayed in the Bassetlaw Museum. For notable people, how about Kathleen Scott, better known as Baroness Kennet? Scott was an English sculptor, born Kathleen Bruce in 1878, the youngest child of the Anglican rector. Her husband was Captain Robert Falcon Scott, the Antarctic explorer. Scott is also the mother of the artist, ornithologist and painter Peter Scott. Her son by her second husband, politician and writer Hilton Young, 1st Baronet Kennet, was Wayland Young, 2nd Baronet Kennet and also a politician and writer. Carlton was the location of the Worksop, Blythe and Cuckney Isolation Hospital, which opened in 1903 to hold up to 16 patients. Hospitals were not required back then to archive patient records, and most are protected by closure regulations anyway, but administrative and accounting records, as well as photographs, may still be in the archives. So as you leave South Carlton heading towards Worksop, you'll go through a tiny little place called Wigthorpe, which is just there where I'm pointing. I'm not walking down there because my route takes me back this way and up back towards Costhorpe where I started. But we will catch Wigthorpe because later on, when the camera is on the dashboard and I'm driving around, I'm going to go through Wigthorpe heading towards my next one. So yeah, we will get it. Carlton in Lindrick's entry in White's Directory of Nottinghamshire from 1853 is very interesting. Back then, Carlton in Lindrick was the area that's now referred to as South Carlton. What we know to be North Carlton had a different name, Kingston-in-Carlton, and it was anciently so called from being the King's Manor. It states too that in Saxon times, Carlton had 6 resident thanes, each having a hall or manor, but these were all possessed by Roger de Busley at the Norman Conquest. Carlton Hall is mentioned too as a beautiful modern mansion in a fine vale, built by Mrs. Ramsden, grandmother to Robert Ramsden, who was at that time Lord of the Manor. In much more recent times, Carlton grew greatly thanks to the presence of a coal mine. We've heard this story before, haven't we? The mine in question would also be the reason for neighbouring Langold's development. Despite the name, Firbeck Main Colliery falls within Carlton in Lindrick's boundaries. We'll talk more about the mine and its history in the Hodsock episode. Now though, house builder Keepmoat Homes owns the former Firbeck Colliery site and plans to turn it into 400 2, 3 and 4 bedroom homes. The development shall be known as Osprey View. That of course will increase Carlton's already massive population. Here's a look at the current demographics. Even though Carlton in Lindrick's population is large, its population density is still pretty average, thanks to it covering a huge 18.75 square kilometres. It weighs in at 299.3. It remains an overwhelmingly white British area too. 98.9% of the residents here identify as such. As for house prices, the new developments will no doubt make an alteration to this figure, but the current average price for a property in Carlton stands at £197,000. The settlements to the north of Worksop are served by the 22 bus route between Worksop and Doncaster. It runs half hourly on Mondays to Saturdays and hourly on Sundays. The nearest railway station is Shire Oaks. St John the Evangelist's Church is an 11th century late Saxon building with Norman 15th century Perpendicular Gothic and 19th century Gothic Revival additions. St John's is considered to be the most important surviving Saxon or Saxon-Norman building in Nottinghamshire, and as such it's a Grade 1 listed building. There's a service every Sunday morning at 10:30. Okay, so here outside the church there's a little box, Church News. And here's what it looks like for Carlton and Lindrick, Langold and Old Coats. Let's have a quick look inside. Ooh, okay. Ooh. Now, you see this here? The legend of the snowdrop. That's important for next week. Snowdrops are significant in this part of the world thanks to them being made famous by nearby Hodsock Priory, which is something you won't have to wait long to find out about. The church was restored in 1831 and it can seat 395 people. It remains as important a building to Carlton as it ever was. Here's the cemetery, which isn't far away from the church, although on the outskirts of Carlton, out towards Hogsop Priory, there's another seemingly newer cemetery too. The Wesleyan Chapel was built in 1861. It now serves Carlton Methodist Church as part of the Trinity Methodist Circuit. A service is held here every Sunday at 10:45 a.m. Ramsden School on the High Road is named after Squire Ramsden, who was responsible for its build prior to 1881. Ramsden is known to have erected 3 schools here. The other primary school I saw whilst walking my planned route was this one, Kingston Park Academy on Long Lane. In Costhorpe, there's Granby House Nursery for the youngest of Carlton's residents, and that's right next to Carlton Youth Centre. There's also a public library in Long Lane, which currently opens on Monday afternoons and Friday mornings. There's also a doctor's surgery in Long Lane too. There are plenty of shops, as you might expect in a village this size, although weirdly, Langold, the next village to the north, which has a population of almost 3,000 less people, has many, many more. Nonetheless, Carlton still has a large co-op supermarket and a range of smaller shops and takeaways, hair salons and all the other things you'd expect to see in this part of the video. It's certainly not short of anything. This building was interesting. This, according to the signs above the door, is a baker's, W&M Wright Bakers and Outside Caterers. These buildings date from about 1800. Carlton has a civic centre. The centre is formerly the old village hall and underwent a £1.2 million facelift in 2002 to create a modern, state-of-the-art multi-purpose community building that's one of the largest of its kind in Nottinghamshire. Sticking with communal buildings, here's the parish centre on Church Lane in South Carlton, located right next to the church. The local Slimming World group use this, as do First Carlton and Lindrick Scout Group, for the young people of the village from the age of 6 years through to 18 years. The village had 4 pubs. 3 of them remain today, and here they are. This is the Blue Bell. There was no Blue Bell pub prior to 1912 in the directories, but there was a New Bell pub. It's not known if they are one and the same. Then we have the Grey Horses Inn, which is where I was in the introduction. This is at the Cross and was established in the 1800s, becoming popular with travellers. And finally we have the Sherwood Ranger on the A60. The Riddle Arms is the one that has since closed, having done so in 2017, but it's still standing and now houses this nursery. To go with these, the building I was attempting to film here was Carlton's Social Club, but with no clear signage, I think it's actually next door. And also, here's Bombay Spice, which is an Indian restaurant on the corner of the green. It might just have been my intuition, but was this formerly a pub too? Parks and open green spaces? Yes, Carlton has those. On the A60 I found this peaceful corner of tranquility, the Lambert Memorial Garden. And of course there are sports facilities here, as you might expect. This is a small park and recreational area around the back of the Civic Centre. The main sports area though is this field, the very same one where we began. There are football pitches here and there's a cricket pitch close by too. Now, as far as landmarks go, these trees wouldn't be much of one to the untrained eye. This row of lime trees on Long Lane have been cut back through a process known as pollarding. They're now just mere stumps, which have prompted some residents to complain about how they look, with some calling them a mess. I think they're unique though and add to Carlton's character. Personal opinion. Around the corner I located this plaque, which pertains to the trees along the A60. They were placed here to commemorate the 21st anniversary of the Carlton Horticultural Society in 1973. Oh, and while we're mentioning trees, they still have their Christmas tree up too, although one would assume this stays up all year round. Okay, how about this one for a landmark? I know a lot of people out there like these old milestones, and here on the side of the road in Carlton and Lindrick we've got one. Doncaster 13 miles away, York 49, and on the other side we've got London 151, Worksop 4. I love finding things like that. South Carlton is the area with the most landmarks. Look no further for starters than the site of the former Carlton Hall, which you can sort of see in the distance here. The hall was demolished in 1955 after damage during requisitioning in World War II. There are some buildings on the site, but as it's private, all I could do was settle for this zoomed-in shot from my phone as I headed back up the A60. Next is a privately owned 19th century corn mill, which is water-powered with an auxiliary steam engine. It's operated only at annual flower shows. So the property that stands on this little beck is Carlton Mill. And you can even see in the bottom right of the property just there, where the old water wheel would have been. And there's a lake behind this, private property of course, so I can't get to it. And there you have it, there's Carlton Mill. Very picturesque, isn't it? The War Memorial next. This was originally dedicated in February 1921, but was restored and rededicated in September 2009. Normally, I wouldn't put an industrial estate in the landmark section, but there were a few things on Lawn Road to the northwest of the village that caught my eye. One of these was Blythe Marble, one of the UK's largest stockists of marble, granite, quartz, limestone and sandstone since 1969. They're based both here in Nottinghamshire and also in Scotland. And here we have the home of Vernacare, a big name in the pharmaceutical world, who manufacture and distribute healthcare products to over 60 countries. They have 4 sites in Bolton, Chorley, South Wales and right here in Worksop. Okay, so we're back at the park where we began. And the reason I've left this one last is because if I point the camera directly in front of me here, you'll see a big blue building. Behind that blue building, you'll see a hill. Now that hill is no ordinary hill. That is the spoil tip from Firbeck Colliery. And we can't access it. As far as I'm aware, there's no footpaths that go across it, so I can't go and stand on it or close to it or anything like that. Behind these trees are the remains of the colliery buildings, and again I don't think I can get to them. There's a footpath over there, but I don't think I can get close enough to the buildings to actually show you them. So there you go, that's Firbeck Colliery behind those trees, and that is the spoil tip from it. But that's what the picture bit's for. If I can't get close to them, I'll put them in the picture bit, and that's coming right now. Okay, so according to Strava, that's the longest walk I've done today, just over 7 kilometers. It's a bit more than the 3.2 miles than I originally planned, but sometimes you have to take little deviations, and that really does add to the route. We're not quite done yet either. I need to hop into the car now and have a look at some of the other areas of Carlton that we didn't see on foot, and that will take us through Wigthorpe and down into the next parish of Bassetlaw. And by the way, there are now less than 10 left in this district of Nottinghamshire. This has been the parish of Carlton in Lindrick, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out. That is a very sharp bend.